Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we'll be discussing some early thoughts going into Game Week 3, along with some of our transfer plans and maybe one transfer that I've already made. Before we get into that, I want to talk about Game Week 2 and how we got on. I was quite happy with 75 points. Of course, no Haaland, and a lot of people triple captaining them. So, very happy with 75 points. And I think in general, for non-Haaland owners, Haaland, I would likely say, is not going to be scoring a hat-trick every single week. So, very happy with the score. Let's break down the team. So, on goal, Henderson, of course, 1 pointer. Crystal Palace not looking the best. Be interesting to see what happens with Eze as well. But yeah, I think Henderson's definitely disappointing, but I've no room to get rid of him just yet. Pedro Porro, Trent and Robinson all returning for me. A 6-pointer from Porro, Trent and a late bonus point for Robinson, which I was delighted with. Robinson picking up a late assist in that game, and Trent kind of pulling up with a sob at the end. I don't think he was quite happy being subbed off early. But again, I thought Trent played amazing and Liverpool looked very solid. And Pedro Porro with a nice clean sheet for Spurs, fairly comfortable for Spurs. And getting on to Spurs, we have Son, who scored a brace for a 16-pointer, absolutely massive. And I think without that, we might have been left in the dust as Haaland scored a hat-trick. Nkunku with the 1-pointer in midfield, who of course didn't even play. He played about 8 minutes. I think he got subbed on, so very disappointing. And he is one of the ones that I think we'll be looking at getting rid of. Or maybe I already did get rid of. Salah with the armband, of course, 10-pointer. And 20 with the captaincy. Very happy with the goal. Salah doing what Salah does best and just returning on a consistent basis. Diogo Jota with the 6-pointer. An assist for Luis Diaz, which I was delighted with. Bruno Fernandes, again, fairly disappointing, but it looks like I'll be going into next week holding on to him. I don't think I have much choice, and I'll show you some of my transfer plans in just a second, and we'll talk about maybe some of the potential moves. Be sure to hit the like button, by the way, and let me know what you think of my transfer plans. And if you have any, I'll try get back to as many comments as possible. So of course, João Pedro with the 8-pointer in the 98th minute versus United. I couldn't believe it. A late cross from Adingra and headed it home, so delighted with that. And Isaac with a 2-pointer, who has looked quite poor, unfortunately. I don't know what to make of it, but I think it's a bit too early to still get rid of him. We know how good he can be on his day, and maybe it's just Newcastle performing poorly. And of course, a bench of Solanke, Barco and Johnson. Johnson picking up an assist very early on in the game against City. And Solanke injured, who I don't know if is going to feature in the next game. But let's get into some of our transfer plans. So getting into some of the transfer plans, I've already done Nkunku down to ROGERS. And this was mostly to avoid the price drop. As you can see, I had 2 free transfers, now I'm down to 1. And after doing Nkunku to ROGERS, I have 98.7 squad value and 1.5 in the bank. That 0.1 coming from Diogo Jota and the other 0.1 coming from Robinson. So quite happy with that. I think that squad value could be very important going into maybe when you wildcard. I think that's where you see that value come in the most. But I didn't want to lose any value on Nkunku last night, as he did get a price rise. I think it was this morning. And I was happy to hold on to Solanke. I think it was quite interesting what was happening with Solanke. We didn't see a price drop in the last two days, and he was projected to drop, I'm fairly sure. So I don't know if that's a flag on him that is keeping him up a bit. But the thought process around that was, in general, if I wanted, one of my transfer plans was to bring in Watkins. And if I wanted to get rid of Solanke, even with a price drop, it looks like Watkins was going to drop anyway. So right now, the plan is I have a bit of time to think on what I want to do with Solanke. I have time to see if I want to keep him, whether that's because I see training footage or we get a really good update from Ange about positive news about Solanke and that he's fit and ready to go at St. James's Park. And I feel specifically with Ange, you're going to get some concrete information. Well, you'd like to hope so anyway. So the plan right now, hold off and see if we get some solid news on Solanke. A few of the other players that could go are the likes of a Henderson, Bruno Fernandes, and of course Solanke. I don't think I'd be getting rid of a Jota just yet. And that 1.5 in the bank leaves us a lot of room to play around with. That 1.5 goes a long way. So some of the other transfer moves that I was looking at making was maybe a Bruno up to a 10 million attacker. And that includes the likes of a Saka, who got price rise to 10.1 this morning, so I can't quite stretch that anymore. But even the likes of a De Bruyne, who is 9.5, or Foden. Foden unfortunately missed out due to illness, but he should be fine now. And KDB, who looks very, very sharp, could be a nice option. What else could I do? I could roll on the one free transfer. I think I'd be quite happy doing that also, because I look at my team now, and if Solanke is fit, and if he's not either, I have João Pedro on the bench anyway to slot in for him. Now, I know it's not an ideal fixture against Arsenal, but you might just roll the dice and see if maybe Brighton can snatch something away at Arsenal, maybe even a goal. And if they don't, that'll mean Arsenal are on for 3 clean sheets in a row. So yeah, in general, looking at the team, I think it's quite solid. I think it's important to look at next week's fixtures as well. So let me pull up next week's fixtures. Actually, before we talk about the fixtures, I just realised I didn't speak about ROGERS at all and why I'm bringing him in. So let me do a quick piece on ROGERS. So I thought he was amazing against Arsenal. And I think 5 million for a player that is getting back-to-back 90s is looking good. So he's playing at the number 10, and he probably should have had 2 assists on the weekend. So I thought he's quite unfortunate not to return. And at 5 million, you know, I think the minimum you're asking for is starts, and if he can get any sort of return, which he's looking likely he's going to do because he's playing so well. And Villa don't look too bad. They have really, really favourable fixtures to come up as well. They have the likes of Leicester away next, Everton at home, Wolves at home, and Ipswich away, and then United at home. So the next 5 are really, really bright. And also, they're against teams who are kind of struggling at the start of the season. So Villa, maybe not with the best of starts to the season as well. Watkins in particular, I don't think looking too sharp, but they'll be looking to pick up some points in these next 5. So I think Morgan Rogers is a very, very good option. And I don't really, I haven't really thought about Champions League too much. Reason being because if I do wildcard, I can't imagine Rogers is going to be involved in that plan. So it's good to have the flexibility with the wildcard there, of course. So I'll only be looking at maybe the next 5. So Morgan Rogers, great pick. Let's get on to our transfers for game week 3 and 4. So looking ahead, I think it's important to look at some of the game week 4 fixtures as well, because when I make my transfers, it's not just for game week 3, it's obviously for the next 5 or so, I want to say. And that will keep me flexible for the wildcard if I don't want to play it in game week 6. So looking at some of the fixtures in game week 4, we have United versus Southampton, and that's what's kind of make me hold on to Bruno. I really want to keep him for that fixture because I feel like he's been unfortunate not to return thus far. Of course, we have João Pedro versus Ipswich in game week 4 as well after they play Arsenal. And then we also have the Spurs assets playing Arsenal. So not an ideal fixture to have the likes of a Solanke either, so maybe that's why I'll be looking to get rid of him maybe a bit earlier. But also, some of the fixtures looking very good for Chelsea going forward. They also have a very, very nice fixture run. So Noni Madueke, I'm going to keep an eye on if he gets solid starts. Of course, Nkunku looks like he's out of the team, but I can't imagine him being sidelined for too long. It'll be interesting to see how many minutes Nkunku gets in the next game. Okay, so what am I doing with that one free transfer in the bank and the 1.5 million? I would say it's likely I go up to a Watkins from Solanke. I think the only way I don't do that this week is if we do get some crucial news on Solanke, and there's no doubt that he's going to start the next game. And Ange is so transparent that I think we will know before Friday's presser, and of course we'll see and get images of Solanke in training, if he is fit enough. So again, I'm happy to go to a Watkins even though he's not performed in those first 2 fixtures. I think Villa are the type of team who are going to score goals, especially with this fixture run. And I know Watkins got subbed off at the 60-minute mark against Arsenal, but he still is building up his fitness for the season, so I can't imagine Watkins being subbed off early every single game, as he is their main man. So Watkins on the radar. Other than that, I can't see myself doing anything else. Of course, in an ideal world, I will roll a transfer, but let's see come Saturday's deadline. Of course, we will be doing a final thoughts and a team selection on Friday or Thursday, and of course on Saturday there will be a deadline stream, so we'll be reacting to any news. So if you have any interest about that, feel free to come join me. We'll be live at 9:30 Saturday. If you liked the video, be sure to smash the like button. You keep breaking all the goals I keep setting. So again, 300 likes will be the goal for this video. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next.